Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Christening of Delaware, SSN 791. I'm Jennifer Dunn, Vice President of Communications at Newport News Shipbuilding, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here this morning and to introduce our platform guests. If everyone could please rise as the official party takes its place on the platform. Please welcome Lieutenant Commander Richard Smothers, Submarine Squadron 6 Chaplain. Captain Jason Lloyd, Supervisor of Shipbuilding, Newport News. Rear Admiral John Tamman, Director, Undersea Warfare Division. Delaware's Matron of Honor, Mrs. Leslie Hogan, escorted by her husband and Delaware's Commanding Officer, Brian Hogan. Mr. Kurt Hesch, Chief Operating Officer, General Dynamics Electric Boat. Vice Admiral Rick Snyder, Naval Inspector General. The Honorable John Carney, Governor of Delaware. The Honorable Bobby Scott, 3rd Congressional District, Virginia. The Honorable James Gertz, Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Research, Development, and Acquisition. The Honorable Tom Carper, U.S. Senator for Delaware. And now, please welcome Newport News Shipbuilding President Jennifer Boykin, who is accompanying Delaware's sponsor, Dr. Jill Biden. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the Parade of Colors and the National Anthem. The Parade of Colors is by the Hampton Roads Navy ROTC Color Guard. This will be followed by the National Anthem performed by Newport News Shipbuilder Brianna Futrell. Color Guard, parade the colors.
See by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Color Guard, retire the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, to deliver today's invocation, please welcome Lieutenant Commander Richard Smothers.
Please join me in prayer. Not to us, O Lord, not to us, but to your name give glory for the sake of your steadfast love and your faithfulness. Heavenly Father, gathering this morning as a Navy family, we're grateful. Grateful for the foresight, determination, and skill of many patriots who demonstrated their courage in countless ways and who delivered a living legacy of liberty to our generation. We're grateful for the public servants of our nation and for those who support them, who rejoice in this milestone of shared achievement. May each of our fellow Americans find renewed resolve to continue the work, bringing Delaware to life, ready to serve our great nation as the first defender of liberty. Eternal Father, bless Dr. Jill Biden as she shares her spirit with this mighty warship, its crew and families. May her encouragement help them overcome every challenge, and may their devotion and love for our nation and this submarine unite them forever. Bless and protect those who work and serve aboard Delaware. Strengthen this crew to be vigilant in support of their shipmates. Strengthen Commander Hogan and every undersea warrior of the Delaware as they demand and display excellence in all they do. Now, Lord, we ask you to pour out your spirit of power and wisdom upon those who speak today. Empower each of us to be ready to serve, sacrifice, and stand for liberty, united together. We ask all these blessings gratefully and humbly in your holy and mighty name. Amen.
Please be seated. And now, please welcome Newport News Shipbuilding President, Ms. Jennifer Boykin.
Delaware, parade.
Good morning. Good morning, distinguished platform guests, ladies and gentlemen, and especially our ship sponsor, Dr. Jill Biden. It is my privilege and great honor to welcome you to the christening ceremony for the Virginia-class submarine Delaware, SSN 791. We're so pleased that you could join us and be part of today's ceremony. I'd like to offer my special thanks to Lieutenant Commander Richard Smothers for delivering the invocation. I'd also like to offer my thanks to the Hampton Roads Navy ROTC Color Guard for joining us today. And I'd like to recognize the United States Fleet Forces Band, as well as our very own Brianna Futrell, for their roles in the ceremony. In addition to our platform guests, there are a few people in the audience I'd like to recognize as well. We are pleased to have several local and state officials with us, including Newport News Mayor McKinley Price, Newport News City Manager Cindy Rolfe, and Virginia Secretary of Commerce and Trade Brian Ball. We're happy to have guests here today representing the state of Delaware, Delaware's Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long, Delaware State Representative Earl Jakes, and members of the Delaware Commissioning Committee. Thank you all for joining us. We're also very fortunate to have union representatives from the United Steelworkers, Ricky Pike and James Strong. Thank you all for coming today. To everyone here today and to those watching on our live webcast, welcome. The christening is a special Navy tradition during the life of a ship that we all look very forward to. It's a time for celebration, to acknowledge the countless hours of hard work that resulted in this magnificent submarine. And it's an opportunity to recognize the hard work and the sacrifices that lie ahead. The christening is also special because it brings together the many members that make up the Virginia-class submarine team. Delaware is the 18th submarine of the Virginia-class and the 9th to be delivered by Newport News Shipbuilding. She's named for the second smallest state, but her purpose is monumental. She will serve as an underwater home to her crew of about 135 sailors for months at a time, while also serving on the front lines of our nation's defense. Her strength and her stealth give our country a powerful advantage over our adversaries. And like the Virginia-class submarines that precede her, Delaware embodies American ingenuity and innovation at its finest, thanks to the outstanding skill and craftsmanship of the incredible team. This team consists of more than 10,000 shipbuilders from here at Newport News Shipbuilding and from our teammates at Electric Boat, who have worked tirelessly to bring us to this important milestone today. I'm talking about shipbuilders like Dustin Floyd, a 22-year-old shipfitter who's experiencing his first christening today, and Judy Clark, an insulator who has worked to perfect her craft for over 40 years. Dustin, who also worked on the submarines Washington and Indiana, is particularly proud of his work on Delaware's radar and sonar equipment. It's a strategic job with incredibly small gap tolerances. As a shipfitter, he works on the entire boat, from the bow to the stern, and will follow Delaware to the test pier. Dustin and his crew will be the last shipbuilders to touch the boat before it's turned over to the Navy. And while Judy has worked as a shipbuilder longer than Dustin, she says she still learns something new every day and on every boat that she builds. As an insulator, Judy soundproofs the submarine and installs insulation to provide temperature control and protection for the submarine's many complex systems. Dustin's and Judy's contributions are just two of the many important roles the building of Virginia's class submarine from all of our craftsmen. At this time, I'd like to ask all of the shipbuilders here today to please stand and be recognized. Thank you all for your great work. And our shipbuilders' jobs cannot be accomplished without the critical contributions of another important teammate. Our supplier base, comprised of more than 5,000 companies across 48 states that provide parts and materials that are critical to Delaware's successful construction. This team gives strength to our Navy fleet. They are the people who serve the country behind the scenes by equipping our Navy so that it can have a constant presence around the globe during times of peace and times of war. And our team would not be complete without the commander and crew of the Delaware, SSN 791. They have stood alongside us during some of the boat's construction, and we will work together during the testing phases. Working with the sailors keeps us grounded in our mission to contribute to the Navy's strength and success. When outside machinist Christian Suarez performs his work on the Delaware's propellers, shafts, and other parts that make the submarine move, it's his brother-in-law, Dennis Medina, a 14-year Navy veteran who serves on the USS Boise, who serves as Christian's inspiration. Dennis and all the sailors Christian has come to know during his 5 years in the shipyard are the reasons why he takes such great pride in his work. The bond that is formed between the shipbuilders and the sailors during construction is a special one. Not all companies are fortunate enough to work alongside and build relationships with their customers. We consider it a privilege to work with everyone on the Virginia-class team because we know that with each new submarine we build, we are building something greater than ourselves. We are building history and delivering freedom to the United States of America. And speaking of history, today marks another historic milestone for the Virginia-class program, because for the first time in the program's history, we are christening 2 submarines today. The Delaware here in Newport News and her sister ship, the Vermont, up north at Electric Boat. Our next speaker was kind enough to leave his home shipyard and join us here today for our celebration, which only underscores what a great teammate and friend he truly is. Kurt Hesch became Electric Boat's Chief Operating Officer in 2016. Prior to that, Kurt served as the company's Vice President of Engineering and also as Vice President and Virginia-class Program Manager. During that time, Kurt led design efforts in support of delivery of the very first of the Virginia-class boats and has had a hand in much of the innovation that defines the Virginia-class today. Let's please give a warm Newport News welcome to Mr. Kurt Hesch.
Thank you, Jennifer, and good morning to everyone. It's really a great day to be here. My honor to represent the men and women of Electric Boat that have worked on this submarine as the Virginia shipbuilding team, and it's truly a team, christens the Delaware. These submarines, created in the true team sport of nuclear shipbuilding, it is a team sport, are all very special. Getting Delaware to this point in its life has taken a great deal of work by a great many people. The shipbuilders of Newport News and Electric Boat, the supplier base, and the U.S. Navy. Special for me this weekend to personally catch up with some of the people I haven't caught up lately that are my friends and shipbuilders at Newport News. They've worked very hard on this boat, and we're all going to get this together. We've been partners, aligned partners, for 20-plus years now. I'd like to recognize all the distinguished platform guests, but especially Dr. Jill Biden, the sponsor of the submarine Delaware. She's going to be smiling all day. It's an honor to have you as part of our shipbuilding team. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize the outstanding crew of the Delaware, led by Commanding Officer Brian Hogan. The officers and crew of Delaware are studying, training, honing their skills in preparation to operate this magnificent vessel. They are also key members of the team. This dedication and commitment will serve them well as they work with the shipbuilders every day to prepare the Delaware for service to our nation. Lastly, I want to acknowledge the essential contributions made by our supporters in Congress. Their steadfast advocacy has enabled us to efficiently construct these ships in our 2 per year rate. It's very critical to our country's defense. So I want to thank them. You know, the Virginia program is really defined by technical excellence, rigorous application of our unrelenting quality standards. We've been recognized for that. It is we've distinguished ourselves by setting those new standards for cost-effective design and construction and advanced mission capabilities. It's a really busy time now. You know, that, as Jennifer mentioned, the two the same day say how long we've been, where we were lucky to try to get like one event a year that we could publicize. We're in it. We know that record of accomplishment has been hard-earned, can never be taken for granted. We want to build upon it. We know we have to earn each new day as a shipbuilding team. It's our responsibility to continuously develop better and more effective ways to succeed, and we do take that very seriously. All the shipbuilders here that all stood up, they all understand that the lives of the sailors and security of our nation are at stake in the work they do every day. We all understand that common goal, unwavering commitment to safety, quality, capability, and continuous improvement, all in support of a dominant undersea force, the most dominant undersea force in the world, the U.S. Navy submarine fleet. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kurt. We are very fortunate to have a strong Virginia delegation that supports our industry and our shipbuilders. It gives me great pleasure to welcome one of our biggest supporters, who is currently serving in his 13th term in the U.S. House of Representatives. We are proud to be located in his district, and we are honored he could join us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Bobby Scott.
Thank you, President Boykins, for your kind introduction, and thank you for your leadership at Newport News Shipbuilding. I'm pleased to be participating in the christening of the Delaware, the newest Virginia-class submarine fitted for our nation's Navy. I'd like to welcome Senator Tom Carper and my former colleague in the House, Governor John Carney, I'd like to especially welcome Dr. Jill Biden back to Newport News. And we're honored to have all of our distinguished guests here today. And I'd like to welcome all of you to the finest shipbuilding facility in the United States and one of the greatest economic assets for Hampton Roads and the Commonwealth of Virginia, Huntington Ingalls Newport News Shipbuilding. It is just a little over 2 years ago that we were here with Dr. Biden for the keel laying for this fine ship. The quick turnaround to today's christening ceremony is a testament of the amazing and talented work of 4,000 shipbuilders who have worked on its construction. The nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers constructed by our shipbuilders are vital to our nation's security. Our Navy must be ready to respond to any challenge that lays ahead, such as threats at home or abroad, or the need to quickly respond to a humanitarian disaster. To ensure that we as a nation are capable of meeting these challenges, we must continue to invest in shipbuilding and continue to build the most sophisticated, advanced ships in the world. That's why I'm very pleased that earlier this month, Congress, for the first time in nearly 20 years, passed and the President signed the Annual Defense Authorization Bill and the Annual Defense Appropriations Bill before the start of the fiscal year. First time in almost 20 years. These measures increase funding for shipbuilding and continue our course to a 355-ship Navy. This will keep both this shipyard and our partner, General Dynamics Electric Boat, very busy as the years ahead, as we ensure that our Navy continues to be able to address any challenge around the world. So please thank our local congressional delegation, Representatives Rob Whitman, Donald McEachin, and Scott Taylor, as well as the Connecticut and Rhode Island delegations for a job well done. Delaware is the 18th Virginia-class submarine. Like its 17 sister ships, the Delaware will continue to allow the Navy to maintain our nation's undersea supremacy. This new ship will be a fine example of our dedication to maintaining our sovereign ability to sail the oceans unfettered, to protect the American interests all over the world. The citizens of the great state of Delaware can justifiably be proud that this new ship carries the name of our union's first state. As mentioned before, but needs to be mentioned again, this shipyard would not be able to build these technologically advanced ships without the hard work of our shipbuilders, many second, third, fourth, or even fifth generations and their family to work here. Shipbuilding runs deep in our community, and for more than 130 years, men and women who work at the shipyard have been providing our Navy with the most advanced ships in the world. President John F. Kennedy once said, "Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we will pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty." Shipbuilders, your work on the Delaware makes sure that our nation continues to fulfill that promise. Congratulations on another great ship. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Scott. Our next speaker has served the people of Delaware for more than 30 years, and he's also learning a thing or two about shipbuilding. In August, he visited us to get a behind-the-scenes tour of the shipyard and the submarine bearing his state's name. Please welcome the 74th Governor of the state of Delaware, Governor John Carney.
Thank you very much, and good morning. This is an incredibly proud day for the state of Delaware, and it's a privilege for me to be here with the ship's sponsors, Dr. Biden, and our senior United States Senator, Senator Tom Carper. Last Saturday afternoon, USS Delaware Commander Brian Hogan was with us in Newark, Delaware, for the University of Delaware's football game against Elam. We walked out on the field with a crew of about 30 of the submarine sailors during a break in action during the third quarter. Our Fighting Blue Hens were losing the game, and the crowd wasn't fired up. In fact, they were very quiet. But as Commander Hogan and his sailors were introduced and projected on the big screen, the ovation started slowly and rose up till it crescendoed into a standing ovation for these incredible patriots. I hope it was clear how much Delawareans appreciate your service and the honor we feel in the first state about this commissioning today and to be associated with this submarine and her crew. The motto of the USS Delaware is appropriate: first defenders of liberty. Delaware, as you know, was the first state to ratify the Constitution on December 7th, 1787. And for a whole week, as Senator Carper likes to say, we were the whole United States of America. The name Fighting Blue Hens comes from a Delaware regiment during the Revolutionary War that was known for its ferocity. So it is really great honor for us in the first state to be associated with this marvel of a submarine, her commander and her entire crew. I want to thank Commander Hogan again for your past and future service. It was a privilege to have you in the Legislative Hall last spring and to welcome you to our state. Welcome to you, to our Delaware family. Thank you, Jennifer Boykin from Newport News Shipbuilding, for hosting us today. And a special thanks to Dr. Jill Biden, Vice President Biden, who was with us last night, and the entire Biden family for everything they've done for our nation and our state. Especially today, you, Dr. Biden, with your long career as an educator and an advocate for military families. We're proud, so proud, that Dr. Biden will christen the USS Delaware today because as part of Delaware's first family, she has always been a model of strength, courage, and commitment. Thank you to Senator Carper, a proud Navy veteran and Delawarean who led the charge to help us commission the USS Delaware today. Thank you to the thousands of shipbuilders who are part of the construction of the US Delaware. Great work, men and women. And thank you most importantly to the 135 submarine sailors who will serve aboard this attack submarine. I had the privilege, as Jennifer said, to visit this shipyard for the first time back in August. And I gotta tell you, I was blown away by the impressiveness of this industrial complex, the importance of your work to our national defense, and the sheer number of engineers and tradesmen who work here. It's clear to me how much pride everyone takes in this work and your role in the defense of our great country. This is truly a big team of patriots, and I'm proud that Delaware now will be part of that team. Our former governor used to say that Delaware is a state of neighbors, and we are. We're a very small state. We know one another, but we work together. We have a strong sense of family. Commander Hogan, to you and the entire crew of the USS Delaware, welcome again to the Delaware family. You are always welcome in the first state, and all Delawareans will be thinking about you and your entire crew as you serve our great country around the world. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless the great United States of America.
Thank you, Governor Carney. Our next speaker serves as the Navy's 41st Inspector General and supports the Naval Sea Systems Command in maintaining the highest level of integrity and public confidence. A decorated naval aviator, he has held numerous Navy leadership positions and served our country at sea on the Newport News-built aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson. Please welcome Vice Admiral Rick Snyder.
Well, good morning. It is quite an honor to be here today with you this morning, joined by such distinguished company, both up here on the dais as well as in the audience, for such an important event. This is a great day for the Navy and a great day for the nation. It's been over 100 years since we named a ship Delaware, and what better remedy than to christen this Virginia-class submarine. It's a privilege for me to be here today after the many years I've spent at sea, in which I've gained a firsthand and awesome appreciation for our Navy's submarines and the men and women who sail in them. They were the best, they are the best, and with USS Delaware, they will continue to be the best. This is also a great day for the Biden family. Thank you, Dr. Biden, for being the ship's sponsor. With deep ties to Delaware and tremendous support to the military, your continued advocacy for this ship and this crew will be a tremendous source of pride and inspiration for many years to come. Thank you. I also want to say congratulations to the entire Biden family, a great military family that have been great supporters for us over many years. I too want to thank our congressional leaders for your unwavering support for our submarine force. Today, there are 11 submarines under construction between Newport News Shipbuilding and Electric Boat. You made this possible. In an era of great power competition, submarines are the coin of the realm, and the United States has no peer. To the world-class team at Newport News Shipbuilding and Electric Boat, key suppliers from around the states, and all the engineers, scientists, tradesmen, tradeswomen, and technical experts who designed and built Delaware, your hard work, pride, and professionalism comes to life in this boat. No one in the world can build a submarine this tough and this complex, able to operate for decades without refueling, taking her crew and combat power anywhere the nation needs it. Our submarine force is in high demand today by our combatant commanders around the world. They need more of what Delaware and her crew will bring. This submarine will carry Delaware's motto of liberty and independence around the world, and she'll be prepared to fight for those ideals. And you all can be proud of that. Finally, to Commander Hogan and the fine Delaware crew, you will represent not only the U.S. submarine force and our Navy, but also Delaware. Your charge is to live the state's motto while defending our great nation with strength and forward presence. I am certain that Delaware and her crew will embody liberty and independence because she is, and they are, built by the best, designed by the best, and operated by the best. Thank you, and God bless Delaware and all who shall sail in her.
Thank you, Admiral. Our next speaker is an Air Force and Special Operations Command veteran who serves as the Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Research, Development, and Acquisition. He brings more than 30 years of joint acquisition experience to his role, which involves oversight of an annual budget that exceeds $60 billion. He's responsible for equipping and supporting our sailors and our Marines with the best platforms, systems, and technology available, and doing it affordably. We are happy to welcome him back to Newport News today. Please welcome Assistant Secretary of the Navy, James Gertz.
Distinguished platform guests, our wonderful ship sponsor, Jill, fellow veterans, crew and family of the Delaware, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a special treat for me to be here today representing the Secretary of the Navy, Richard Spencer. And wow, what a wonderful day. It's hard to believe that as we're sitting here having this wonderful ceremony with this great crew and all our shipbuilders, we're having another ceremony just like this at the same time up in Connecticut. It's a great testament to this American power we have, how we can bring together sailors, shipbuilders, suppliers, engineers, and build these kind of submarines for our sailors. Today, like every day, nearly half of the Navy ships are at sea. We've got thousands of men and women all around the globe deployed, underwater, on the water, in the air. As we sit here today, I would ask you to keep them and their families in your thoughts and close to your hearts. They are the reason we're having such a great time here today at such a wonderful ceremony celebrating our freedom. Christening ceremonies are a time-honored tradition in our Navy, and they're especially meaningful to me because it's a time where we can celebrate the two great ideals of this community. Those are teamwork and commitment. The teamwork and commitment that you've heard about here from the thousands of shipbuilders, suppliers in every state, engineers from the Navy, all working together to deliver these incredible machines. I congratulate you on delivering the last of our Block 3 Virginia submarines, the most lethal nuclear attack submarine we have ever put to sea. The teamwork and commitment of our military, who, as I said, are operating around the world right now, keeping us free. They're the ones that we really need to celebrate as we think about this. And finally, the teamwork and commitment of our military families. As a veteran, there's many veterans out here. We all know we are strong because of the families at our home, taking care of the children, taking care of family, taking care of all the tough things so we can focus on doing the things the nation needs us to do. Today, we again have a Delaware preparing to enter the fleet. She's the seventh to bear this name. She's guided by the teamwork and commitment of her crew who will shape her for the future. Not only will this fine crew and ship have the inspiration of all those previous ships and crews, the full backing of the state of Delaware, but we've given her a special weapon, something we've never put on a nuclear submarine before. I'm not talking about the awesome torpedoes or the Xbox controller that controls the periscope. I'm talking about Dr. Jill Biden, our ship sponsor. Jill, we are truly blessed to have you supporting our Navy and our submarine. You will make this submarine, which is already an incredible machine, unstoppable. Commander Hogan, good luck as you and your crew get ready for the days ahead to bring this ship to sea, and we look forward to seeing her join in the fleet and being a ship on the line. May God bless this fine submarine, her crew, her sponsor, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Gertz. I now have the pleasure of introducing someone who calls Delaware his home. Senator Tom Carper is the state's senior senator, a position he has held since January 2009, when Joe Biden stepped down to become vice president. Senator Carper has served his state for more than 40 years in a number of leadership roles, to include congressman and governor. He's a staunch supporter of our military as a senior member on the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. And he also served his country in the Navy for 23 years, 5 years as a naval flight officer, 3 tours of duty in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War, and in the Naval Reserve until his retirement as captain. He joined us 2 years ago for Delaware's keel laying, and we're happy to have him back today. Please welcome our keynote speaker, Senator Tom Carper.
Let me hear you say, thank you, Jennifer. And there's another Jennifer right back here. Jennifer Dunn, stand up. Jennifer, the person who put this together, weeks, months in the making, Jennifer Dunn, who's going to get married on Thanksgiving Day. Say, good morning, Jennifer. Jennifer, I've asked, as the governor knows, I've asked hundreds of people who have been married a long time, what's the secret to being married a long time? The best advice I ever got? The 2 C's, communicate and compromise. Keep those in mind. Keep those in mind. Speaking of getting married, we have about a bunch of families here. We have the families of a lot of the crew members here from the Delaware. And I think they're sitting right down that way someplace. If you're a family member, I don't care if you're a spouse, a girlfriend, if you're a son or a daughter or a parent, and you're here with this crew, stand up and receive our applause. Stand up. We don't do this by ourselves. And that is the work that I did with Bobby and our Governor, John Carney. Jill certainly knows that. We don't do this by ourselves. It's our families. And hugely important. I want to thank my wife, Martha, for letting me serve in all these different roles for all these. Nice round of applause for Martha Carper. I won't ask her to stand up. She hates it when I ask her to stand up. Why don't you stand up? Why don't you stand up? Martha Carper. I'll pay for that later. I want to say to Jennifer Boykin, to Kurt, everybody that's built this ship, how grateful we are to all of you. And I think I want to start off, before I get into they asked me to speak for 45 minutes. Just kidding. But before I do that, we've got people back in Delaware, in Sussex County, the south, Kent County in the middle, and in Newcastle County up north. And we have folks at Delaware Technical and Community College, at Wilmington University. We've got about 1,000 people that are watching us live stream. And they're just wanting somebody here in this huge building to say, good morning, Delaware. Can you say, good morning, Delaware? Oh, come on, you can do better than that. One more time. All right, if that doesn't wake them up, I don't know what will. That's great. I'm going to start off with a history moment today, maybe a history minute. How many have ever been to Delaware? Not just come up 95, paid the toll, actually got out, took advantage of our tax-free shopping. A little bit of a history minute if I can. I think our state we're known as the first state. There's a reason why that is, and the governor's alluded to that because before anybody else had ratified the Constitution, we did. It's on December 7th, same day as Pearl Harbor Day, but we celebrate Delaware Day every year like a big deal. And I just want to say, not many people know this outside of Delaware, but you build a lot of ships here. We used to build a lot of ships in Delaware, all the way up from Milford in the southern part of the state, all the way up the Delaware Bay into the Delaware River, along the Christina River. If you ever take I-95, you're heading north with Wilmington off on your right. If you're taking a train, you're coming through Wilmington through Biden Station. I wanted it to be named after me, but he was the vice president, so. Anyway, if you're coming through Biden Station, for about a mile and a half there along the river, we had 10,000 people who worked there during World War II. 10,000 people. And they built a bunch of the ships that won the war. Destroyer escorts, troop landing ships, you name it, they built it. And when the war was over, the 10,000 jobs went away, and what had been a vibrant industrial area became a real kind of an industrial wasteland. And John and I and others worked hard, along with Earl out there in the audience, and our Lieutenant Governor Bethany. We worked hard to transform that. So when you see it today, I'll say, whatever happened to that industrial wasteland? Well, it's gone, and it's the riverfront, and it is beautiful, and it's a vibrant area today. But I want to mention that there are a bunch of ships built, not in Delaware, but in other places around the country that were the USS Delaware before this USS Delaware was built. Let me just say, I don't think I've ever told anybody this. I mentioned this to a couple of people earlier this morning. The first time I started thinking about, wouldn't it be great to have a ship called the USS Delaware? I'd been sworn in as a United States Senator January 3rd, 2001. Later that day, someone was asking for an autograph. And I signed my name, Tom Carper, and under my name, I wrote USS Delaware. USS Delaware. And I thought to myself, that might be a good name for a ship. And years would pass, and about 100 years ago, the last ship named after Delaware was built and commissioned, a big battleship. And about five and a half years ago, people started saying to me, it's been 100 years since the ship was built named after Delaware. We ought to do something about it. You ought to do something about it. And I called a guy named Ray Mabus. Some of you know Ray Mabus. Let me hear you say, Ray Mabus. There you go. Secretary of the Navy. For I think maybe longer than anybody's been his Secretary of the Navy ever. And Ray Mabus, I call Ray Mabus, old governor of Mississippi. I'm an old governor of Delaware. Some say now I'm a recovering governor, but this is the real governor. This is the real governor. I called Ray Mabus and I said, Governor. He said, Governor? And I said, it's been 100 years since the ship was built after the state of Delaware. And he said, that's a long time, Tom. And I said, it sure is. I said, do you think we could do anything about that? He said, let me see. I'll call you back in a couple of months. And I hung up and I said, sure. Well, he called me back in about 3 or 4 months, and he said, we're going to build 4 Virginia-class fast-attack nuclear submarines, the most modern fast-attack nuclear submarine in the world. We're going to start building in about 3 years. The first will be called the USS Delaware, SSN 791. Let me hear you say 7, 9, 1. And I said, really? And he said, really? You got my word on it. And sure enough, a couple of years later, this baby started taking shape. Skipper, Captain Hogan, Commander Hogan started pulling people together. Today we got 135 of them. Just stand down. Give them a great round of applause. I met them all. These are the best. These are the best we could get. Quick history minute now. You ready for this? Here we go. I'll go through this really fast. Who has the newest national park in the United States of America? Very good. And it kind of goes back like almost 400 years. The first town in the first state is a place called Lewis. It's just north of Rehoboth Beach, where a couple of friends of ours have a place. And the Dutch settled it almost 390 years ago, and the Indians took them out. They didn't even last a year. They must not have been very nice to the Indians. So the Dutch went away. But then the Dutch came back. And they were nicer to the Indians, Native Americans, and went okay. Until one night, when everybody in Lewis went to bed, all the Dutch went to bed, and guess what happened? The British wiped them out. They burned the town to the ground. And there was a house in Lewis, Delaware, the Rivas Holt House, one of the longest standing houses in all of North America. And that's part of Delaware's heritage. We have a national park that includes that house. It's the southern tip of our national park. All the way up to the northern end of our national park. It's a national park that tells the historical, really the colonial heritage of Delaware leading up to the ratification of the Constitution. Wilmington, first Swedes, first Finns came ashore, created the colony New Sweden, which is now Wilmington, Delaware. There are now more Swedish Americans than are Swedes in Sweden, if you can believe that. The other parts of our national park in Dover, we have it just south of the Dover Air Force Base. Anybody ever been to the Dover Air Force Base? Some of you have. Just south of there is an old house, an old plantation house, where John Dickinson grew up. He was a penman of the Revolution. He wrote a lot of the early writings that excited and motivated the colonialists to stand up and take on the British throne. And that's where he grew up, the childhood home of John Dickinson. In Dover itself, we have the Green. What's important about the Green? Well, it so happens that's where the 25 guys gathered right around December 4th to look at that Constitution and to say, is this something we ought to ratify or not? And they did. And as John said, we became the first state to ratify the Constitution. That's just a little bit of the history, and it's all laid out in the national parks. So sometime when you're coming to Delaware, say, I'd like to see that national park. And it spreads from one end of the state to the other, from 100 miles to all the way north to south, 50 miles from east to west. It's a little state. Come and see it. Somebody asked me, like, what is Delaware famous for? Well, we're famous for being the first state. Famous for being that's a pretty good start. We also are the home of our incorporation to over half the Fortune 500 and about another 1 million companies from all over the world. If you have a credit card in your wallet, there's a 66% chance that it's from Delaware. And we appreciate it when you don't pay your bill. We have 3 counties. The southernmost county is Sussex County. It's big. How big? It's the largest county on Delmarva. In fact, maybe one of the largest counties in the east of the Appalachian Mountains. We raise more soybean there than any other county this side of the Appalachian Mountains. We raise more lima beans than any state in America. And if you look at the value of the agriculture crops per acre in our state, we blow everybody else away. We're an agricultural state. We have, the last time I checked, more 5-star beaches in Sussex County, America, than any state in this country. So I was just want to say to the ship's crew, why is Delaware famous? Those are some of the reasons. But you're going to make us even more famous. There have been other ships named Delaware. None of them built in Delaware. I'll just mention them briefly. There's a 24-gun frigate launched in July 1776, captured by the Royal Navy the next year. Not a good start. 1798, merchant ship. Not a ship built to be a fighting ship, outfitted for service during something called the Quasi-War, which most of us never heard of, with France. And I think it was 1798. Sold in Baltimore in 1801, an infamous finish to a fighting ship. Then a 74-gun ship, commissioned in 1828, decommissioned in 1844. Listen to this, burned by the Union forces in 1861 at the Norfolk Navy Yard to keep her out of the hands of the Confederates at the outset of Civil War. Then a side wheel steamer. Never, how many of you ever been on a side wheel steamer? Purchased by the Navy, an unlikely Navy ship. Participated in the North Atlantic blockade of the Confederate forces as a gunboat, decommissioned in 1865. And finally, a screw steamer. I've never heard of a screw steamer, but obviously somebody had, because it was named initially by some other name, which I cannot pronounce. I think it's an Indian name, and renamed the USS Delaware in 1869, decommissioned 12 months later. Now, there's a common theme to those ships. Harry, they were not famous ships. If you look back in history, they did not change the course of the world. I suppose we were proud of their name Delaware, but you know what? Turn the page. Look what we got. The USS Delaware, SSN 791. Do we have a ship or what? Most modern submarine, most modern fast attack submarine in the world. And it's named after our ship. Forgot to mention, there was a battleship, by the way, that slipped in about 1914. Pretty impressive ship. And we sunk it about 10 years later. I guess there's some deal coming out of World War I. Go figure. Well, I mentioned reaching out to Ray Mabus all those years ago, 5 years ago. John Carney signed a letter. He was our congressman. He signed a letter, along with Chris Coons, our senator, signed a letter to our friend Ray Mabus, and the rest is history. We about 6 months later, remember Jill? He invited you and Joe and I to really for a little announcement. It was a very small, not a big crowd like this, but a small crowd. But it's just a really exciting day because we knew what was coming. Slowly but surely, the crew was assembled, led by Brian P. Hogan and Executive Officer of the XO, John Ross, Chief of the Boat Master, Chief Richard Hearing, and today this settled sailors, all told 135 in all. They hail from, guess how many states? I'll tell you, 35 states. 35 states. They come from Maryland to Montana. They are among the best and brightest in the United States Navy, and they are the best and brightest of any United States Navy, or any Navy in the world. And as I said earlier, this is not just any submarine. This is just a great submarine. Every one of them has taken an oath to defend our country and Constitution. Every one of them. If truth be known, my guess is about half the people in this building have taken that oath. The Constitution that we took an oath to defend and to protect was, as I said earlier, first ratified by Delaware, December 7, 1787. It's the most enduring Constitution, the most replicated Constitution in the history of the world. In fact, it is provided, we always salute the flag, but when we salute the flag, we're really saluting the Constitution because it provides the foundation on which the most enduring democracy in the history of the world has been built and rebuilt. But as revered as our Constitution is by all of us, in the end, our Constitution would largely be a piece of paper. Were not for the courage and the commitment of one generation of American after the other, who've been willing to step forward to serve their country in uniform, to risk their lives, and in many cases, to lay down their lives so that we might enjoy the liberties that we enjoy today. And with the christening of the USS Delaware, we honor all those men and women. We honor them all as a new generation of American sailors prepares to take this submarine through its sea trials and eventually to seas throughout the world over the next half-century, further protecting our democracy and helping to preserve this planet that we call home. Today is an important day for Delaware. Believe me, it is. And we welcome the USS Delaware to our proud military family, a family that includes the Dover Air Force Base, the finest airlift base in the world. The finest airlift base in the world, Dover Air Force Base. And we have a great outfit. John is the Commander-in-Chief of the Delaware Air National Guard with their C-130Hs and with their Black Hawk helicopters. We got a full general out here, sitting out here, Earl Jakes, and he's now a state legislator. We're proud of all our guards, folks. We have the Coast Guard contingent down. You're down at the beach, down at Bethany Beach, need some help? The Coast Guard is right there to help you, so keep them in mind. And we got, believe it or not, in the little state of Delaware with almost 1 million people, 73,000 veterans. It is a great source of pride to me, and I hope to all Delawareans, that the most state-of-the-art nuclear submarine in the world will bear our name, our state's name. And I'm proud to know that the USS Delaware will soon serve as a valuable asset for a long, long time to come. I'll end with this. When you were kids in school, do you ever remember studying the Constitution? Raise your hand. How many of you remember being in school? my school, when I was a kid in grade school, we had to memorize the preamble to the Constitution. And it begins with these words: "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union," it doesn't say in order to form a perfect union, it says a more perfect union, "as citizens of this great country, it is up to each and every one of us to do our part to ensure that the arc of American history bends toward that perfection, even if we never fully achieve that." And with that, before Dr. Biden, our ship sponsor, proceeds with the christening of the USS Delaware, I want to do something a little bit unorthodox. My wife said, "Please don't do that. Please don't do that." I want you all to stand. I want you all to, if you can stand, please stand up. I'm going to do something else a little bit unorthodox. I'm going to take the hand of the person standing next to you. On either side, take the hand of the person. Squeeze that hand. Squeeze that hand. And I'm going to ask you to join me in reciting that same preamble together. I'll say a few words, and then you say them, okay? You ready? Are you ready? Yes. All right, I think they're ready. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America forever and ever, so help me God. I just made up that last part. Stay standing, stay standing. May God bless and protect this crew and all who sail the USS Delaware in the decades to come that lie ahead, and may each of you, as a citizen of this great country, may we all live our lives in a way to ensure that America remains a nation worthy of their sacrifice, so that government of the people, by the people, and for the people will not perish from this earth. God bless you all. Thank you. Go Delaware. Thank you all.
Thank you, Senator Carper. It is now my distinct privilege to welcome our next speaker. As former Second Lady of the United States, she worked to bring attention to the sacrifices made by the military and their families, to highlight the importance of community colleges in creating the best, most educated workforce in the world, and to raise awareness around breast cancer prevention and many other important causes. She did all this while continuing to teach English full-time as a full-time professor in the Northern Virginia Community College, where, by the way, she still teaches on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She says being a teacher isn't just what she does, it's who she is. I know that all of our shipbuilders in the audience today can relate to that passion, and I'm confident that her passion will help guide this submarine and her crew. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the sponsor of Virginia-class submarine Delaware, SSN 791, Dr. Jill Biden.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please. Good morning. And thank you for being with us for this very special milestone for the USS Delaware and her crew. Back in 2012, I visited your local school, the Lee Hall Elementary School, with Admiral Winnefeld, where exceptional teachers were trailblazing by recognizing and supporting military-connected children. So I know how special this Norfolk Newport News community really is. You take care of each other, and you lift each other up. So let me begin with a simple thank you, and to let you know that Joe and I have had this community top of mind, and you were all in our prayers during the storm that postponed the ceremony originally for September. and I will always remember your warm hospitality and this very special day. Governor Carney, Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long and Dana, Senator Tom Carper and Martha, and Congressman Bobby Scott. It's a pleasure to share this event with you. Today we will christen the USS Delaware. A little over 2 years ago, my grandson Hunter and I helped to lay the keel of this impressive vessel. That keel is the backbone that will hold the Delaware steady, give her balance, and steer her straight. This submarine will be strong, like the sailors who make up her crew. One of life's greatest honors is being part of the U.S. Delaware family and your shipmate for life. But I simply represent the people of Delaware who take great pride in this submarine and will stand by its crew and their families. The Bidens are a military family. My father served as a Navy signalman during World War II, and before he died, he gave me his ribbon that he wore on his naval uniform. And I put it in my pocket today because I wanted to just have a little piece of him with me because I know how proud he would be. And our son, Bo, served the Delaware Army National Guard for 12 years and deployed to Iraq in 2008. Over the last 9 years, through my work with Delaware Boots on the Ground and with joining forces in the White House, I had the pleasure of meeting and spending time with hundreds of service members and their families. At the Biden Foundation, we strive to support our military community, including raising awareness about mental health issues, military spouse employment, and military-connected kids. These families give so much to our country. Those service members who wear a uniform and the spouses and children who do not, and they have inspired and strengthened me through my brightest and darkest hours. They are the reason that I am so proud to be your sponsor. The Delaware is 377 feet long. She is capable of submerged speeds of 25 knots. 4,000 shipbuilders, as you've heard, have played a role in bringing her to life. And she is the 18th Virginia-class submarine to join the Navy's fleet. But here is the number that I want you all to remember: 136. There are 136 officers and crew. And behind each one of them is the support of you, of family and friends, which allows them to serve our great nation. From the military spouses who have moved time and time again, reinventing careers every step of the way, to the military children who change schools every few years, to the parents who quietly worry but stand strong when their child is underway for months at a time. They are the steadiness and continuity for our sailors. They are the quiet force behind this incredible crew, and I want them to know that we are behind them. We are behind them too. I know it is a tremendous privilege to be selected as pre-commissioned crew member, and the sailors standing with us today are the very best that our Navy has to offer. In fact, I'm told of all the first tour crew members here have served on other submarines, and each of them has earned their dolphins this year. That includes James Erlab, who was the first to earn his dolphins aboard the Delaware. Between now and its commissioning, this crew will begin to put the ship through its paces, working together as she's placed in the water for the very first time, completing sea trials and a variety of tests to ensure her fitness. And I have complete confidence in you. So before we will officially christen her, I want to say thank you on behalf of all of the Bidens and the great state of Delaware to everyone who is here with us today. Thank you to Jennifer Boykin and the Newport News Shipbuilding, as well as Electric Boat, for making today possible. Commodore of Submarine Squadron 6, Captain Martin Muckham, Commanding Captain Brian Hogan, Chief of the Boat, Master Chief Ricky Herring, Executive Officer Lieutenant Commander John Ross, and I want to say a special thank you to the Matron of Honor of this ship, Leslie Hogan. You know, Leslie and I got to sit together at dinner last night, and we were talking about our families and, you know, just what her life is like, what my life is like. And, you know, I saw just what I see in all military spouses, just how strong and resilient they are when their spouses are deployed and they have to, you know, hold their own ship and at home. And we talked about just the trials of life and, you know, the health problems that you might have, or problems with your kids, or just keeping the family unit together. So I so admire that about the military spouses. So I know that Tom asked the military families, but I feel that military spouses are really special people. And I wonder if just the military spouses and significant others could stand and we could give them a round of applause. Thank you. But most of all, thank you to the crew who are beginning a new stage of this journey today. Thank you for the work that you do every day. Thank you for letting me be part of your family. And thank you for your sacrifice. May you find balance and bearing in the hull of this submarine. May you lead with distinction, and may you always return safely home. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Biden. Please be seated. In just a moment, Dr. Biden, Senator Carper, and Commander Hogan will join me as we make our way over to the bottle break platform. When we get there, the shipyard whistle will sound, indicating it's time to christen SSN 791. After the christening, we will return to the stage for a special performance by the St. Augustine Gospel Choir. But now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, let's go christen this submarine.
United States ship Delaware. May God bless this submarine and all who sail in her.
Delaware, left, face.
What a way to end today's commissioning. That was great. Thank you very much. Before we conclude, we have one final presentation. Dr. Biden, we have a very special keepsake to remind you of today and the important role that you played. We have the christening bottle, or after that I will say what's left of it. The bottle is enclosed in a handmade wooden box made by our shipbuilders in our pattern shop. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes today's ceremony. Thank you all again for coming. We hope you enjoyed the day. Have a safe travel home, and please enjoy the rest of your day and weekend. Thank you very much. God bless.